Viewers, we may be witnessing the single greatest run of Star Rail characters of all time. There have been other great runs, but not like this. This is a Kobe Bryant and Shaq type run. This is a Prime Seasons 1 to 3 of SpongeBob type run. This is the type of run where Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Beyblade, and Bakugan were all on TV at the exact same time. This is what we're talking about right now, so let's talk about it, gamers. Hey, if you enjoy this content, please make sure to like and subscribe. Over 80% of my audience isn't, and it really does help out the channel a lot. Alright, back to the video. So let's get the important part out of the way. This is not going to be some groundbreaking topic. It's going to be closer to a scripted yap session rather than an objective-driven video. This is a script that's pretty silly to make, but this is also something that I just thought would be fun to talk about when coming up with ideas in the last few days. The idea of the best character runs in Star Rail is a pretty unique concept, and I had never heard anyone bring it up until the announcement of Update 2.7 and its respective characters. By the way, it's already Update 2.7, this was written before it even came out, so just be prepared for a little bit of off language when referring to the update. I don't think Star Rail or Hoyoverse is struggling for money right now, but with the lineup that they're putting out, I could certainly be convinced. I've been hyping this up a lot, so let's finally get into some details. I'm going to first talk about the historic run that Star Rail is currently on, spanning from around the end of 2.6, looking to go until 3.0. After that, I want to try and see, is there any other character run before the one currently that is comparable in how many good characters there are and how excited people were? That last part is a bit harder to gauge, but I'll try to factor it in. Let's now look at the two characters who kicked off this historic run, the reruns of Aventurine and Acheron. I've stated it a million times, but Aventurine is the best sustained in the game currently. He will probably remain the best sustained for a long time as well. He simply offers too much and is helpful in genuinely every team comp in the game right now. With the Remembrance Path on the way soon, that could change, but we'll have to wait and see on that, of course. Also, he'll probably still be useful. Aventurine is an incredibly popular character, I think more so for his gameplay, but that doesn't mean he as a character is bad at all. He is an incredibly compelling character for most people, and had probably one of the worst upbringings of any Star Rail character, having to see his people perish and then work from the ground up if he wanted to survive. Definitely a popular character, but maybe not quite as popular as our next person up. Acheron has been battling some washed allegations recently, but she is still an incredible damage dealer who is not only capable at every level of the game, but is also incredibly popular for a few reasons. First of all, she's just a badass. She has an extremely calm demeanor and amazing voice acting in every single translation that I'm aware of. Second, most Honkai Impact players like her a lot, since she is in fact Raiden Mei. Raiden Mei is a main character from Hoyo's previous Honkai game, Honkai Impact 3rd. She's in other ones as well, but most people don't even know those exist, and don't really have access to them sadly. Acheron being Raiden Mei is not only good because HI3 players know the character and can feel a connection to her, but for what the game does to the story of Raiden Mei. We're going to pivot to a quick HI3 lore lesson, so just try to bear with me here. This is Kiana. She is the main character of Honkai Impact 3rd, and probably the best protagonist in Hoyoverse history, as I don't consider the Traveler or the Trailblazer absolutely exceptional characters. And we're not even going to start on Bell and Wise. Kiana is the reason Raiden Mei in HI3 is the character she is. Raiden Mei before Kiana was a lot closer to how Acheron is. Not very emotional and rather unfeeling. Mei had a lot of walls and avoided people pretty heavily. Kiana, through sheer stupidity and persistence, was the one who broke down these walls and established such a close bond with Mei. How you choose to interpret that bond is up to you, of course, partner! But that is simply how the story works out. What makes Acheron even more beloved was the tragic story she has in Star Rail. In a sea of depression with Aventurine, Firefly, Sunday, and more, Acheron too has a dark past. While we only know so much, it's pretty safe to say that Acheron lost what would be Star Rail's Kiana. Maybe not Kiana exactly, but the person who would have done the same for her. This ultimately leads us to the character we have today. what Raiden Mei's path is without Kiana's light. While all this context can be lost in the actual game, the pain Acheron has is easy to understand in the HSR story. This, combined with her exceptional gameplay, is what leads Acheron to being such a popular character. I don't have exact stats, but she feels like one of the most liked characters by far, with almost everyone I know having her in some regard or having tried to get her at the very least. These two excited players heavily after what was going to be a pretty boring patch containing the rerun of Imbibitor Lune, who had already come back once, so sorry to my Blade and Silverwolf fans out there, and Rappa. Rappa, while she could have been included on this list for how good of a unit she is, did not really excite players. She has a strong kit and is one of the more unique personalities in Star Rail, but most people knew that Sunday was coming or that Acheron and Aventurine were getting reruns and opted to skip Rappa. She makes it in the gameplay sense, but the player excitement sense was about as low as it was for Jiao Cho, sadly. Acheron and Aventurine were, for a lot of people, the main draw of 2.6, and going on from here, the excitement just continues to grow. We now look at the 2.7 characters being released, and boy oh boy, this one is going to be a doozy. At the start of patch 2.7, one of the most requested characters of all time finally arrived, Sunday. While seemingly not quite as popular in other regions, Sunday is America's most hyped character by far. He holds the title for most liked Twitter drip marketing in US Star Rail history, apparently. I myself know multiple people who were waiting literal months for Sunday to come out and were just waiting to devote their lives to him the moment he entered the game. I could go on for a while about why Sunday is so popular and such a big part of this historic run, but I don't like him, so I'm good. Okay, in actuality, as much as I don't like him, he is a character with a deeply compelling story for players to enjoy. He is highly unique, conventionally charming, and has some of the most insane moments in Star Rail history linked to him in the form of these cutscenes.
I already know your decision. I now permit you to gaze into the sun. On these 107,336 stones, the almighty and powerful strings of harmony are at my disposal. The supreme tuner, harmonious choir, Dominicus! The time has come. Creation will be reborn from the remains of the gods.
Danan?
Radiant spirits, heed my word. Show no mercy!
All of this is without even touching on his gameplay. Sunday is going to be the best new support characters for summons going forward, enhancing them significantly. Once again, the Path of Remembrance coming out is going to be huge for this. Most of these characters seem as though they will have summons, meaning Sunday is going to be a huge benefit to them. While on the topic of summons, we can move on to who joined Sunday on his banner while it was out, Jing Yuan. Let's preface this with the fact that Jing Yuan is nowhere near as strong as the other characters talked about today. He is, however, one of the most globally popular characters in Star Rail. He is loved by almost every single fanbase, and with Sunday, should become a far more exceptional character, and so far, that's certainly seeming to be the case. Them running together is a match made in heaven. The biggest problem for most Jing Yuan players is the unreliability of the Lightning Lord, aka how Jing Yuan gets most of his damage output. Now, the Lightning Lord will consistently act more and be incredibly more powerful than before. So not only is Jing Yuan running with a character who is perfect for him, but he also was just recently featured in a continuance that a lot of people played and enjoyed. On top of his already immense popularity, Jing Yuan coming back to Star Rail is definitely worthy of being a part of this historic run of characters. And if you disagree, then look at this face. How can you be mean to this face? We now get to my personal favorite character of this list, Fugue. This new Ting uniform is something many players had been waiting for, but gave up hope on a long time ago. For this period of time, Yuan seemed to be the original character to die and not return in any form. Gallagher and Misha soon joined her in this regard, but all of them being 4 stars, they simply weren't as essential, sadly. I had a whole video explaining this a while back, so if you ever want to hear more about this, then I would recommend go watching that. This reveal was huge news though. Many players were eagerly waiting to see how her story develops from this point, since, death is a pretty hard thing to move on from. Moving on to her gameplay, however, this too is a big reason why many players were excited for her to come out. Why, you may ask? Well, she pairs perfectly with everyone's favorite girl, Firefly. Fugue is a break support that will specialize in increased super break damage and exo toughness. It is more than likely that for a traditional Firefly team, she'll end up taking the Harmony MC spot. Either that, or players can run her with other break characters to try and finally create 2 efficient break teams. The most prevailing of these has actually been partnering with Rappa, or, if you really want to get a bit weird, throw her with Himiko. Trust me, it works wonders. The possibilities are going to be a lot of fun to explore, and even with the unbelievable hype for Sunday, many players managed to save for both, or specifically went for Fugue. But wait, I hear probably some person in the audience saying, looking at you, Kevin, what if I don't really have a break character for Fugue? Well, I have great news for you. This dominant run of characters continues on, with the Fugue banner partner being none other than Firefly. I feel Firefly is probably the character I have to say the least about. She is incredibly powerful, being probably a top 3 damage dealer in the game, and she is easily one of the most beloved characters in Star Rail history. Recently, I had somebody new to the game playing text me saying that just by looking at Firefly, they didn't like her. One half of Penacony later, they liked the character a lot. It's that simple, folks. I remember I myself said I wasn't going to pull for Firefly since I wanted Robin, or I wanted Jade, since she is voiced by one of my favorite voice actors. Instead, I have an E1 Firefly, and no, I do not regret it in the slightest. That is my best character. Firefly will be a must-pull character for a long time, due to her powerful kit being adaptable to any scenario, and some of her best supporting characters being easy to acquire. Even for people who like other team comps more, her popularity and how much people like her in the story will always be a big factor in pushing people to get her. The same way Jing Yuan has consistent popularity, Firefly will follow in that mold. Sunday will probably be much the same, probably getting a rerun at the earliest possible convenience. This patch right here is what truly inspired this video idea, I gotta be honest. This may be the single hypest collection of characters we'll get at the same time. We have 2 of the most popular units already in the game, one of the best characters, America's most requested character, and another one of the most anticipated characters who also turned out to be a surprise. That is just unfair, Star Rail. This many good choices in such a short amount of time is genuinely criminal. Something I want to point out is that many players already wanted one of these 6 characters. Whether it was to finally get Acheron or Aventurine, to get Eidolons for one of them, or the people who have been waiting for Fugue/Sunday. There are countless players who already wanted or planned to get 1 or maybe even 2 of these characters. This would already be such an insane run on its own. Look at the watch time real quick. Yeah, we ain't done yet. Update 3.0 received its drip marketing, and some early teaser trailers, and oh my god. This is gonna be a bloodbath for wallets everywhere. Starting off, we had the announcement of Herta. No, not her. I want the real Herta. Perfection. Somehow, after giving us 2 highly anticipated characters, Star Rail looked around and said, hey, you know what would be pretty funny? Let's give them another character they've been waiting ages for. Like, wow, thanks Star Rail. My poor wallet is coughing up blood at the thought of even getting used for this. Herta's true form has been something teased literally since Star Rail came out, and has only become more of an intrigue for players over time. This was due to things like Ron May saying Herta's beauty is unquestionable, which, to be fair, is accurate. Not to mention that since more geniuses have been added to the game, it's naturally made fans curious, since, looking at Ratio and Ron May, goddamn. It is unfortunately very early in the update cycle, so we don't have much to go on about them, but people can still be excited about the character, and considering that Herta has one of the highest liked announcements on Japanese Twitter, and the rest of the world is right behind them, I think that easily qualifies her to be on this list. The fun doesn't stop there though. We received another drip marketing, and it was of a completely new character that was entirely unheard of, Aglaea. Which, by the way, I really dislike this name. I really thought it'd be pronounced something else, but you know, live and learn. Pretty cool character, you know? She's very pretty, has a wonderful design that kind of reminds me of Ratio's clothes, and wait, what is that? Hold on, zoom in. Oh. Yes, she is indeed the first playable character to be seen as a follower of the Path of Remembrance, a completely new path coming to Star Rail for version 3.0. She is drop dead gorgeous, but I'm gonna be honest, it literally did not matter who was revealed for this. It could have been almost anyone, because the new path is the thing that's most exciting here. Getting such a good character alongside the announcement was really just icing on the cake. Many players are excited for Aglaea because of how she looks and for the excitement of trying out this new gameplay path that will not only be a new damage path, more than likely, but also it will be entirely based around summons. Reminder, Sunday is going to be the new greatest support for summons, so many players are also excited about the prospect of teaming these two characters up together. This is already a lot of excitement to handle, but somehow we still aren't done. As previously mentioned with Acheron, there are quite a few references to Honkai Impact and how that universe coincides with Star Rails. The final reason players are so excited for Aglaea is due to what she represented in one of the newest trailers to come out. There is a group of characters in HI3 known as the Flame Chasers. Incredible individuals who were some of the greatest heroes of their time. It seems more likely by the day that Aglaea is part of them, and version 3.0 will allow us to see Star Rail's version of this incredible group. This is something I know has both worried and excited many HI3 players, but it is still something huge to take in. The potential here is off the charts, and while not an official announcement, there is one more point of excitement associated with these characters.
Of course, this will be a romantic story like none that has come before. You think so too, right?
This character is undoubtedly a form of Alicia, a fan favorite of HI3 who has one of the greatest stories in the game. I won't talk about it here, but for her to be present in this game and in what is clearly a younger form is something very much of interest to players everywhere. While Aglaea may not have all the hype individually, she has made the community unbelievably antsy to see what will come next in this game, more than earning her and all of Amphorius a spot on this list. Lastly, for hype character announcements, we have the new form of the Trailblazer. He was announced after our previous two characters, so he kinda had his thunder stolen, but hey, he's there and he looks to be very fun. He even has a little pet that I really hope doesn't speak real words. Getting to see the form this early has led to a lot of speculation about how early it'll actually be unlocked, considering these forms are usually only in the ending parts of main stories. It's a lot to think about, but the Trailblazer's new form has generated a lot of buzz and excitement towards the new path, with him and Aglaea being the first ones to represent it. At this moment, we don't really know what else is coming out for 3.0 specifically, so we're gonna have to cut off our run of exciting characters here for now. We had Acheron and Aventurine, followed up by Sunday and Fugue with Firefly and Jing Yuan in tow, and now Herta and Aglaea alongside our newest Trailblazer form. I really cannot describe how insane of a list this is in both gameplay and just pure popularity. These characters all have fans or people who are extremely excited to acquire them, and I really do just find it wild how we've gotten them all in a row essentially. Like I said at the start, talking about this run wouldn't be the end though. This will be a pretty short section, but I want to look and see if there are any runs even similar to this in Star Rail history. Upon initial observation, it doesn't really seem like it. I did, however, find one run of characters I feel would be worthy of talking about. Let's go back about a year or so at this point. So, starting at version 2.0, it's kinda hard to say if Black Swan counts as part of this run. She is a liked character, sure, but I don't think quite as popular as others, and not quite as useful to players at this very moment. Her banner mate was also Don Hung Il, who was getting his first rerun. Not a bad character, and he is extremely popular, but I think I'm gonna exclude them as part of this run that I want to talk about. Going forward from here, we now have in order Sparkle and Jing Yuan, Acheron, Aventurine and Jing Liu, Robin and Topaz, Boothill and Fushwan, and ending with Firefly and Ron May. Also, shout out to my boy Gallagher, he was in there somewhere. This is a run of popularity and gameplay usefulness that is hard to stack up to. Sparkle was already getting noticed in the Penacony story by many players, and quickly became a fan favorite, both by players and, another community. Jing Yuan, as mentioned, very popular, and was meant to work well with Sparkle, so players were excited about this rerun. The first arrival of Aventurine and Acheron, who had already cemented themselves as popular characters, was obviously huge for the Star Rail community. Many players actually ended up getting both because of how well they worked together. Moving on, we had the return of Jing Liu, a very popular character who was actually still good at this point in history. Boy, do I miss that! Moving on, we had Robin and Topaz next. Robin was already highly beloved for her personality and appearance, and is the favorite character of a certain loud streamer I think we all know and love. Topaz, on the other hand, while not universally loved per se, was a very strong character and has remained that way to this day. She is essentially the ultimate sub DPS and has even had another rerun at this point because of that usability. We then move on to Boothill and Fushwan. This was polarizing, but Boothill, at least, is a very liked character currently and is one of the premier DPS in the game right now. He wasn't really given a huge time to shine in the game's story before, but this patch came out, he finally got his time to shine, and shot up players' rankings universally. Fushwan mainly follows the same story as Topaz. Not universally liked, I feel, but easily one of the best sustains in the game. I personally pulled for her with very few regrets. This run finally concludes with Firefly and the return of Ron May. Firefly already explained. She is extremely beloved, and this was her debut to the world. Ron May getting her rerun was also rather big. She's one of the best supports in the game easily, and even while being a little quirky, is well liked overall. Her comboing perfectly with Firefly made this a match made in heaven for future Firefly mains. After this was Jade and Argenti, but that was once again rather polarizing, so we cut the run off here. From the second half of 2.0 to the first half of 2.3, this is a run very comparable to the one I've spent the video talking about. Both feature highly anticipated characters, with good characters at the time across the board. While there is genuinely an argument here, I still think the run we are currently on is by far the best in Star Rail history. It features too many highly requested and anticipated characters, while also having some of the most exciting characters of this run included with it. That, my friends, is just too hard to beat. I really wasn't kidding. I do think this is the greatest run of Star Rail characters in history so far. So many big announcements, so many characters who were heavily anticipated, all while getting good existing characters at the same time. It really is incredible, and I personally, while dreading how many characters I'll have to miss out on, am very excited to see who comes next, and if this hot streak is going to continue on, or if it'll finally calm down a bit. Either way, the one thing I know for sure is that I got my wife! Yes! Alright, well, this is the end of the video, so I really appreciate you all for watching, it means a lot. This was a very silly video idea, but I had a lot of fun with it. It was pretty cool to go look back at all these banners, do a little bit of research, and find the Twitter numbers for how much people like announcements. That was interesting, so... I apologize for how I sounded in this video as well. I did another take and it came out really horribly, so I figured I need to slow down a little bit, kind of restrain my voice a bit more, so... You know, hopefully next scripted video will be a bit more high energy, a bit more into it, I suppose. And yeah, I would just like to hear what are you guys most excited about going forward. I know we've already gotten past Sunday and we're on Fugue currently as I'm saying this, but this will probably be out in 3.0. So, you know, we've seen My Day, we've seen Tribby, so I'm curious to see who you guys are most excited for. Leave it in the comments down below. Really hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you for the next video. So, bye-bye!